Hello everyone, and welcome to this demo of the Nucleus Custom Risk Score functionality. My name is Rob. I lead the product team at Nucleus, and I'm going to be walking you through this interface today and describing a couple of the ways that you can use this new feature. So let's dive in. The Custom Risk Score tab is located next to the Nucleus Risk Score customization options. It exists in the Risk Settings menu in the Project Administration part of your navigation. We haven't changed anything about the Nucleus Risk Score adjustment sliders here, just a little bit of design refresh on this. The Nucleus Risk Score is a great option for applying a normalized risk weighting to your vulnerabilities and other data objects in Nucleus. And you can make those adjustments to different asset risk parameters here in this interface. But we wanted to add more customization options for customers to be able to add whatever criteria they want to use to define their customized approach to measuring vulnerability, asset, and project risk in Nucleus. And what we've come up with is a number of customization options that exist in this menu, and I'll walk you through them. First, you would start by giving your risk score a name. I just chose something simple here. You have the ability to set a range, anything you want from 0 to 1,000,000. I just chose 0 to 100 for my score. And then we get immediately to the different risk levels. This is where you can give an actual name to different ranges of your risk score. And that name can be used in your automation rules to take different actions on vulnerabilities that apply these different levels of risk. What's cool about this is if you have a policy in your organization that defines different levels of risk for vulnerabilities, you can map that over into this interface here. So maybe you have something that defines what's a P0, P1, P2, P3 vulnerability and different SLAs for due date or different escalation pathways or different documentation requirements necessary for those different levels. You can map that directly into Nucleus, and then you can add that to your automation rules so that vulnerabilities are automatically going to where you need them to go when they meet these different risk levels. So that's why we built this in here. When you get past this level, you have the ability to set the base scores for your vulnerability. In this case, we've chosen Severity. So when we look at the severity of a vulnerability, we're going to assign these scores as the base number that applies to each of those. And then the real customization comes in when we make adjustments to that. So setting the base score values and then adjusting those, and then that all rolls up to the risk levels that we defined at the beginning. What I've done here with the adjusters is chosen a number of different fields, and we don't have to necessarily go through all of them. But I want to highlight a couple of things. And what we're doing here is we're taking different conditions, applying a logical test to them, and then adjusting the base score that we arrived at the beginning up or down based on the values that are going to be present on each vulnerability for these fields. And in a couple of different categories, I've chosen some things here to highlight the capabilities that exist in this product. You have a couple of vulnerability intelligence fields here. So the threat intel from Nucleus Insights is baked right into the custom risk score calculation here, and that allows you to adjust up or down your risk score based on those values. So in this case, if Nucleus is showing there to be a public exploit available as a Nucleus Insights value, if that's a yes, we're adjusting the risk score up by 15 points, and if it's a no, we're adjusting it down by 15 points. We also have another threat intel field in here, the Nucleus remote exploitability field. We have asset context in this menu as well. So I'm choosing network exposure and business criticality as ways to adjust the score up or down as well. So if business criticality is critical or high, we're adjusting the score up, for example. If it's low, we're adjusting it down. We also have the interesting ability in this interface to use asset metadata. So one of the cool things that we've made available for customers in this interface is the ability to use asset metadata fields from your entire project in your risk score calculation. So in this case, I chose if your AWS region is not US East, we're adjusting the score down, but you can choose whatever asset metadata field you want to use. What's very interesting about the ways we bring all of this data together is that Nucleus is a unique platform that allows you to combine this information in the first place. So by ingesting your vulnerability and finding data into Nucleus, you're creating the environment where you can put all of these different pieces of data together. And in this interface, we're exposing all of that information to you to use in your custom risk score calculation. So we're enabling you to have a granular calculation here that's just not achievable outside of the platform by bringing together the asset, vulnerability, and threat intelligence in one place. And that's a really key aspect of what makes this a really exciting product. I'm now going to show how you might test your custom risk score. So once I've added all of those different adjusters, I'm going to use the score simulator to calculate the score on a vulnerability. And I want to use this to show you how different elements of the score might cause the score to adjust up or down depending on the values of a vulnerability, which is going to lead to different outcomes for you. So let's add a couple of fields here to the adjuster and see how this works out. So I've added some scores to my score simulator here, some adjustment fields to my score simulator. And I'm going to show you how that results in a different score calculation. So in this case, we're imagining a vulnerability that has a medium severity, and that's on an asset with relatively low business criticality, but that has some pretty severe finding values. It's a vulnerability on the SysACEV list. It's on an asset that's exposed to the internet, and exploits are available, and remote exploits are available. So when I calculate this score, it's taking this medium severity vulnerability and raising the priority, raising the risk score up using these different adjusters. One important aspect here, though, is that because it's on a relatively low business criticality asset, we're coming in at a final score of 85. You can see if I adjust this to be a high business criticality asset, then it's going to adjust the score up, and instead we're going to end up over 100, so we're going to normalize that score to 100, and that becomes a P0 vulnerability for us. So you can see how the different elements of the score help you to visualize whether a vulnerability is higher or lower in relative priority. Now, why does all of this matter? Well, what's important is not just how you calculate the score, but how this fits into other aspects of the product. Let me show you the automation menu briefly to explain what I mean by that. In this test project, I have created a couple of automation rules for what to do when we have a P0 or a P1 vulnerability. And you can see here, if the risk score level is P0, we're going to set the due date to be a mere 2 days from now. If the risk score level is P1, we're setting it to 7 days from now. You can also use numeric values if you prefer to work with those. In this case, using the text values of P0 and P1 makes it easy to choose from a dropdown and really easy to configure the rules. So you can see how this could be used to create SLAs for when those vulnerabilities should be remediated. You can also imagine how it would be combined with other fields, like let's say you want to increase or decrease the SLA based on the availability of a patch for a P0 or a P1 vulnerability. So the possibilities become really exciting when you combine the custom risk score with the different capabilities that exist in automation. And you can think of other ways to combine this functionality with other interesting stuff in Nucleus. You have the ability to combine this with custom dashboards. So you could create a SLA dashboard for all your P0, P1, P2 vulnerabilities that shows past due vulns and vulns that are resolved within a due date. You can create ticketing rules with these things to automatically ticket the vulnerabilities that have higher risk score than others. You could integrate this with your custom threat intel. So if you want to add your own threat intelligence into the product and then incorporate that into a risk score that you add in Nucleus, that's easily doable with this interface. And you also have, with our newer functionality, the All Findings page, you have the ability to create reports that regularly export things like all of your active P0s, right? So the possibilities are really endless, and it really comes down to what you're trying to achieve. You know, maybe you're trying to enhance your team's ability to adhere to your SLA policies. Maybe you're trying to get better visibility on the level of risk within your organization. You know, whatever you're trying to achieve, the custom risk score has the ability to enhance those efforts, and we are very excited to share that with our customers. So thank you for your time on this demo, and I hope you enjoy using this product.